Our country, as you know, Madam Chair, was built on coal and steel. Throughout the Midlands and the North, we drove the Industrial Revolution. And now what are we doing? We've gone backwards. China, by the way, are world leaders in renewables, yet they're still opening coal-fired power stations in order to make steel, which they can export all around the world. And we are actually, if you think about it, carbon emission NIMBYs. The collapse of the Port Talbot Steelworks means that now we're the only advanced nation in the world that cannot make our own virgin steel. I'm quite angry with the madness of this place that we work in, when there's families out there, there's communities that are relying on us to save their jobs. And they all sit there, Madam Chair, with glazed expressions on their faces. And I tell you what, come the next election, people in these communities will boot you all out.
Lee Anderson.
Madam Chair, it is indeed a pleasure to serve under you, and I want to just thank the honourable member for Skegness and Boston for securing this debate and making what I think is probably the best speech so far of this Parliament. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. I know the members opposite harping on about this steel strategy, and I can assure you now that the steel workers will be frightened to death of this strategy coming up, because it's going to cost jobs, and I think that it's going to destroy our steel industry and our communities. I fear this steel strategy. In the 19th century, this great country of ours was the world leader in steel production. Over 40% of the world's steel was made here, right in this country. I don't live a million miles away from Sheffield, 15 minutes up the road, not far away from Scunny. That's not far away. These were great towns, great industrial towns that drove our economy, that provided hundreds of thousands of jobs and jobs in the wider community as well, and built up communities. And it is a shame the Labour Party, the Labour government, seem intent on destroying even more of these communities. Just a few we've got left in this country, they seem intent. Our country, as you know, Madam Chair, was built on coal and steel. Throughout the Midlands and the North, we drove the Industrial Revolution. We used to export steel. We'd export coal. And now what are we doing? We've gone backwards in this country. China's making over 1 billion tonnes of steel a year. We're making about 5.6 million tonnes of steel. China, by the way, are world leaders in renewables, yet they're still opening coal-fired power stations in order to make steel, which they can export all around the world. And we are actually, if you think about it, carbon emission NIMBYs. We're quite happy to import steel and products made from steel from 60 or 70 countries around the world that has been made with blast furnaces, but we're saying we can't do it here. I think that's hypocrisy of the highest level. And I've got a lot of friends who work in the steel industry, and they've seen a real downturn at the moment. They're struggling. They're struggling to pay the bills. They're struggling to make their business work. This industry is in a terminal decline, I fear. The collapse of the Port Talbot Steelworks means that now we're the only advanced nation in the world that cannot make our own virgin steel. It's absolutely ridiculous. We've got Russia at war with Ukraine. We're living in uncertain times. We've seen the problems we've had over the past few years in the last Parliament with energy supply, our dependency on foreign states for energy. And now we're doing more of the same with our steel. It's just beyond comprehension. It's absolute madness. We're killing off our steel communities, just like we did the coal mining communities back in the 80s. I know, I was there. I've seen the impact he had. It's still got devastating impact or consequences 30, 40 years later. These communities were killed off. They're still struggling. I live there. I see it day in, day out. Yet we're going to get more of the same from this government. Look at the coal mine in Cumbria. What we want to open, what we should open, to produce metallurgical coal, which will then help in the production of steel, which we could blend and use in blast furnaces in this country. Yet we seem reluctant. This is a coal mine, Madam Chair, that would produce millions of tonnes of metallurgical coal. It would provide 500 to 600 well-paid jobs in an area that needs jobs and more jobs in the wider community. yet we're quite prepared to import 3 or 4 million tonnes of coal a year into this country rather than produce it, use it in this country and hopefully export some of the coal as well. It's absolutely madness. And we talk, the Honourable Member for Boston and Skegness spoke about the high electricity charges, which will mean high production costs for making steel. Look at Drax Power Station, North Yorkshire. The electricity prices coming from there are astronomical. This is a power station that burns wood. It used to burn coal from a coal mine just a few miles down the road. But we had this great idea in this country to import wood from trees chopped down in North America and stick them onto diesel guzzling cargo ships, send them over the Atlantic, and then set fire to them in a power station in North Yorkshire. It's absolute madness, and this will drive up the price of electricity and subsequently drive up the price of steel production. You know, it is beyond madness. China's getting it right. China's getting it right. They're world leaders in renewables, but they're also making steel from blast furnaces. You know, I think China's right. We should be actually copying China with this so-called steel strategy. They seem to have got it right. Now, I agree with the honourable members for Boston and Skegness, his 5-point plan, but I feel that it will probably fall on deaf ears. The madness will continue. You know, steelworks will continue to close down. We'll continue to lose jobs. We'll continue to destroy communities in our great country. And we'll continue... Do you want to intervene? Okay, sorry, Chair. And again, like I say, I'm going to wind up now because I'm quite angry with the madness of this place that we work in, when there's families out there, there's communities that are relying on us to save their jobs. And they all sit there, Madam Chair, with glazed expressions on their faces. And I tell you what, come the next election, people in these communities will boot you all out. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah.